There's a version of The Wiz that stars a completely different actress, and the world almost got that version instead. This list covers 20 revelations that will genuinely change how you see this film. From a secret that launched the biggest music career in history, to an act of government-level persecution that nearly reshaped the entire cast, and one jaw-dropping bonus at the end that absolutely nobody talks about. So, speed up with me, because the list starts now. Number 1. Diana Ross forced her way in. When Motown acquired the film rights in 1977, the plan was already set. Stephanie Mills, the woman who originated Dorothy on Broadway, was signed to reprise the role on screen. Then Diana Ross picked up the phone. Ross was 33 years old. Dorothy was written as a teenager. Gordy told her no, too old. Wrong fit. But Ross didn't hear no the way most people do. She went completely around Gordy and called Rob Cohen at Universal Pictures directly. Her deal was simple. Universal finances the film, she stars as Dorothy. Cohen agreed. Gordy caved. The studio rewrote Dorothy from a naive teenager into a 24-year-old kindergarten teacher from Harlem. The entire emotional core of the story shifted because one woman refused to accept a rejection. One critic later called it one of the clearest examples of pure, unchecked willpower in Hollywood history. Number 2. The original director walked out. The moment Diana Ross was confirmed as Dorothy, the film lost its director. John Badham had just come off Saturday Night Fever. He was one of the hottest filmmakers in the industry. He was attached to direct The Wiz with serious creative momentum. Then he found out about the casting, and he was done. Accounts differ on whether Badham quit or was pushed out, but he went on record telling Rob Cohen exactly what he thought. Ross was talented, a terrific singer, a great dancer, a real presence. But she wasn't this character. He wasn't wrong. Being right just didn't matter anymore. The studio needed to move forward, and Badham was already out the door. His exit forced the production to scramble for a replacement fast. If you are enjoying this, take 2 seconds and leave a like. Subscribe if you want more videos like this. That support really motivates my work and helps a lot with bringing more content. Number 3. Lumet was hired to clean up the mess. The studio needed a filmmaker known for bringing order to chaos. They found one in Sidney Lumet, Dog Day Afternoon, Network. 12 Angry Men. Lumet was one of the most respected directors alive, known for delivering films fast, smart, and under budget. He was exactly what a runaway production needed. There was another reason he made sense. Lumet was Lena Horne's son-in-law, married to her daughter Gail Jones. That connection helped land Horne as Glinda the Good Witch, casting that became one of the film's most emotionally resonant decisions. But Lumet had never directed a musical, not one. He approached the film like a New York filmmaker, turning it into a visual love letter to the city itself, the World Trade Center, Coney Island, the 1964 World's Fair Pavilion. The ambition was enormous. So was the bill. The Wiz became the most expensive musical ever made, with a budget climbing toward $24 million. The studio president eventually told the crew to just finish it at any cost. They took him completely at his word. Number 4. Lumet didn't want Michael Jackson. Before Michael Jackson was the Scarecrow, he almost wasn't in the film at all. Lumet's first choice for the role was Jimmy Walker, JJ from the sitcom Good Times. When someone suggested Michael Jackson, Lumet shut it down without hesitation. He dismissed the idea, calling the Jackson 5 a Vegas act. Not a film presence, not a dramatic performer. Rob Cohen disagreed. He personally flew Jackson from Los Angeles to New York to meet Lumet and Quincy Jones in person. Jackson walked in and performed. Both men watched, and something happened that you can't fake. They saw it. The grace, the discipline, the startling talent hiding behind the shyness. Lumet changed his mind. Jackson got the role. It became the only feature film of his entire career. Every other film project he was attached to over the following decades fell apart. This one, the one the director initially rejected him for, was it. Number 5. Jackson won an NAACP award for Best Actor. The Wiz bombed. Critics were brutal. The box office numbers were humiliating. But one organization looked at the same movie and saw something completely different. The NAACP saw a $24 million all-black musical featuring Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, Lena Horne, Richard Pryor, and Nipsey Russell. A production built entirely on black talent at a scale Hollywood had never attempted before. In 1979, Michael Jackson took home the NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actor in a Motion Picture. This was his first film. He was a young man playing a scarecrow in a movie the mainstream press had already written off, and he beat out the competition for Best Actor. The Wiz itself won Outstanding Motion Picture. It wasn't an Oscar or a Golden Globe, but it was recognition from the organization that actually understood what the film meant. While the studio bled money and critics sharpened their pens, the NAACP saw the bigger picture. Number 6. The Tin Man was recast without explanation. Ben Vereen was originally cast as the Tin Man. He was a Broadway legend, a Tony Award winner, a natural fit for this production in every conceivable way. Then he was gone. Nipsey Russell stepped in. No press conference, no public statement, no explanation from the studio, the director, or either actor. One day it was Vereen, the next it was Russell. The transition happened quietly, and nobody ever said why. What Russell brought to the role was unexpected, drier, wittier, more melancholy. His Tin Man didn't feel like a man waiting to be fixed. He felt like a man who had spent too long being overlooked. Whatever went on behind closed doors, the role became completely his. And his performance is one of the most quietly affecting things in the entire film. Number 7. Eartha Kitt was blacklisted before she could be cast. Eartha Kitt was the first choice to play the Wicked Witch. She would have been extraordinary, but Kitt had been blacklisted, not by Hollywood gossip or creative differences, by the United States government. In 1968, Kitt attended a White House luncheon hosted by Lady Bird Johnson. The topic was juvenile delinquency. Kitt stood up and connected the behavior of young Americans directly to the Vietnam War, calling it out for what it was. President Johnson responded by having the CIA, not the FBI, the CIA, an international intelligence agency, compile a dossier on an American entertainer for speaking her mind at a luncheon. The result? Kitt became persona non grata in the United States. She couldn't get work for nearly a decade. She left the country, performed throughout Europe and Asia, and survived. By the time The Wiz came around, she was still too politically radioactive. The role went to Mabel King, who had originated it on Broadway. Kitt made her American comeback that same year in Timbuktu on Broadway. 2 black women, 2 different stages. One finally got her country back. Number 8. Quincy Jones didn't want the job. Quincy Jones signed on to supervise the music for The Wiz as a personal favor to Lumet, and for almost no other reason. In his autobiography, Jones admitted he genuinely did not want to work on that film. He wasn't connecting with most of the Broadway material, said he only liked about 3 of the original songs. But Lumet had given Jones his first major break as a film composer back in 1964 on The Pawnbroker. That debt mattered. Jones signed on, dismantled nearly the entire score, and rebuilt it from scratch with jazz legends and session musicians. He wasn't feeling it, but he was professional about it. And somewhere in that reluctant creative process, he ended up standing on a set, watching a 19-year-old kid work. That moment would become one of the most consequential accidents in music history. Before we keep going, subscribe if you haven't yet. Drop a comment telling me which movie or show you want me to cover next, with strange behind-the-scenes facts. I read every single one. Number 9. The Wiz accidentally created pop history. On set, Quincy Jones couldn't stop watching Michael Jackson. Not because Jackson was demanding or showy, but exactly the opposite. The kid had memorized everyone's dialogue, every scene, every character, every line that wasn't his. Jones had never seen that kind of quiet obsession before. Then came one specific moment. A scene required the Scarecrow to reference the Greek philosopher Socrates. Jackson pronounced it wrong. Jones pulled him aside and corrected him. Small moment, but it cracked something open. They started talking, really talking. Before filming wrapped, Jackson asked Jones if he could help him find a producer for his next solo album. Jones offered a few names, then paused and offered himself instead. Jackson said yes. That conversation, born on the set of a critically savage box office disaster, led to Off the Wall, 20 million copies sold. Then Thriller, the best-selling album in recorded history, 65 million copies. Then Bad, 45 million more. 3 albums, roughly 300 million combined sales, all of it tracing back to a mispronounced word and a quiet conversation on a struggling film set. Jones said it himself years later. Divinity brought their souls together on The Wiz. Number 10. Joe Jackson tried to stop Michael. Joe Jackson saw The Wiz as a direct threat to his business model, not to Michael's talent, to the group. The Jacksons were a unit, a brand, a family enterprise, and Joe controlled every piece of it. A solo film meant Michael developing solo relationships and solo ambitions. Joe didn't want that door opening. Rob Cohen didn't argue. He wrote a check, roughly $100,000, to secure Michael for the role. Then he moved Michael and his sister LaToya into a Manhattan apartment. It was the first time in Michael Jackson's life that he had lived away from home. He was 18 years old. New York absorbed him. He hit Studio 54, wandered streets that ran on music and reinvention, watched and listened and absorbed everything the city offered. Everything Joe Jackson had feared happened. Michael didn't just leave for a film set. He left for a different version of his own life. Number 11. Scarecrow makeup designed by the man who built the Terminator. Every morning before a single frame was shot, Michael Jackson sat in a makeup chair for 5 hours. The man in charge was Stan Winston. Foam latex prosthetics glued to his forehead, cheeks, chin, and nose. A full bald cap over tightly braided hair, then paint, then touch-up work between every take, because Jackson's physical expressions kept loosening the appliances. Jackson never complained. He later said the experience taught him how to fully inhabit a character by losing his own face. He loved it. Said the mask freed him. Winston was still building his career in 1977. Within a decade, he'd create the Alien Queen, the T-800, the Predator, and the dinosaurs of Jurassic Park. 4 Academy Awards. But The Wiz was one of his earliest major film credits, and the kid in the chair became a lifelong collaborator. Number 12. Richard Pryor's reveal nearly blinded Diana Ross. Richard Pryor didn't arrive on set until most of the film was already in the can. His role as The Wiz was small in screen time, but visually enormous. His reveal scene was built around a 25-foot silver head rigged with spotlights designed to look like lasers. The visual was stunning. It was also genuinely dangerous. During filming, the lights fired directly into Diana Ross's eyes. The damage was immediate. Ross had to be pulled from the set and treated. She recovered, came back, and finished the scene. But for a moment, the most expensive musical ever made nearly eliminated its own star mid-production. The scene was filmed at the base of the World Trade Center. Number 13. The Emerald City scene was never fully finished. The Emerald City sequence was intended to be one of the most spectacular outdoor musical scenes in cinema history. 650 dancers, 385 crew members, 200 costumes, 3 full wardrobe changes shot on location between the Twin Towers at the World Trade Center Plaza. The ambition was breathtaking. The execution was incomplete. Wind shut parts of it down. Scheduling conflicts tore the plan apart. A lighting error during the red sequence couldn't be corrected because there was no time and no access to reshoot. The Port Authority refused to grant further filming permission. What ended up in the final cut is what they managed to capture before the city simply stopped cooperating. One of the boldest musical sequences ever attempted, and they didn't even get to finish it. Quick reminder to subscribe if you are enjoying these revelations. And tell me in the comments, do you know any strange fact about this movie that I didn't mention? Let's build the list together. Number 14. Robin Givens and Cissy Houston were both in the film Uncredited. Look closely at the opening party scene at Aunt Em's house. One of the young guests is a teenage Robin Givens. Uncredited. It was her first on-screen appearance, years before Head of the Class. Years before Mike Tyson, years before she became one of the most recognized faces in tabloid culture. And buried in the music, also without any billing, is Cissy Houston, Whitney Houston's mother. She sang as part of the adult choir. No special mention, no acknowledgement, just her voice woven into the fabric of the film. 2 women who would both eventually become famous for reasons far removed from this movie, both present in the same frame of history, and neither one got credit for being there. Number 15, only 3 Broadway cast members made the jump to film. Of everyone who had performed in The Wiz on Broadway, only 3 actors made it to the screen. Ted Ross reprised his Tony Award-winning role as the Cowardly Lion. Mabel King came back as Eveline the Wicked Witch. Both had been part of the original cast from opening night in 1975. The third was Teresa Merritt, who played Aunt Em, but she wasn't from the original Broadway cast. She had joined as a replacement playing Eveline, which means 2 of the 3 film holdovers had played the same villain on stage at different points. Everyone else was replaced with bigger names. Stephanie Mills lost Dorothy to Diana Ross. Hinton Battle lost the Scarecrow to Michael Jackson. Tiger Haynes lost the Tin Man to Nipsey Russell. Andre DeShields lost the Wiz to Richard Pryor. Dee Dee Bridgewater, who won a Tony playing Glinda, lost her role to Lena Horne. Mills was the most painful case. She originated Dorothy, she was signed for the film, and then she watched someone else put on the silver slippers. Number 16. The budget spiraled so far out of control. The studio said, finish it at any cost. Halfway through production, the budget had already hit $18 million, and the second half of filming hadn't even started. The original number was supposed to be a fraction of that. Filming ran from July to December of 1977. Astoria Studios, multiple New York City locations, hundreds of extras, elaborate sets, custom costumes across hundreds of performers. Every department burning through money faster than the accounting team could track it. At a certain point, the studio president looked at the situation and made a decision that removed every financial guardrail. Just finish it, whatever it costs. The Wiz became the most expensive musical ever made, a record no one in the production was proud of, and a gamble the box office would never pay off. Number 17. The film ended Diana Ross's theatrical career. The Wiz grossed somewhere between $13 million and $21 million at the box office, depending on which accounting you trust. Against its $24 million production cost before marketing, it lost anywhere from $10 to $30 million. By any measure, a financial disaster. The critics piled on. The same Diana Ross who had fought to play Dorothy, who convinced Motown to bankroll the project, who pushed a 33-year-old woman into a role written for a teenager. They turned on her. Too old, too dramatic, too much. It was the last time Diana Ross ever starred in a theatrical film. Every project she made after The Wiz premiered on television, the big screen was finished with her. One role, one massive gamble. Hollywood closed the door on the other side. Almost at the end, and the best is still coming. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next, and drop your city or country in the comments. I want to see how far this video is reaching. Number 18. Luther Vandross wrote the film's biggest song and appeared uncredited. Before Luther Vandross was Luther Vandross, he was just Luther, a songwriter whose gift hadn't found its commercial moment yet. In 1975, he wrote Everybody Rejoice, a brand new day for the original Broadway production of The Wiz. That song closes the show, the moment of triumph, the release, the celebration, his words, his melody. 3 years later, he showed up on the film set as an uncredited extra, one of the Wicked Witch's guards. No billing, just another face in the crowd. Luther Vandross wouldn't become a household name for another 6 years, not until Never Too Much in 1981. But his fingerprints were already on one of the most iconic moments in musical theater history. He just had to wait for the world to catch up. Number 19. Lena Horne's final film role was an act of justice. Hollywood had already broken Lena Horne once. In the 1940s, MGM gave her singing cameos that were specifically designed to be removable, not because they were bad, but because Southern theaters refused to screen a film with a black woman in a prominent role. Her scenes were filmed as detached musical numbers, easy to cut out, easy to pretend she was never there. Then came the McCarthy era, blacklisted. Her film career effectively ended. After 1956, she appeared in only 2 more movies. Sidney Lumet, her son-in-law, gave her Glinda the Good Witch, a queen draped in silver, surrounded by light, delivering the film's emotional closing argument. After decades of being systematically erased, Lena Horne got to close The Wiz by telling Dorothy to believe in herself. It was her final film appearance. 3 years later, she returned to Broadway with The Lady and Her Music and performed at the Tony Awards to a standing ovation. The stage gave her what Hollywood never would. Bonus. High fashion designers dressed background extras in couture. Nobody talks about this. For all the focus on Diana Ross's gowns, Michael Jackson's prosthetics, and the massive set pieces, almost no one mentions what happened to the costumes for the Emerald City background dancers. The people with no lines. The faces you'd see for half a second before the camera moved on. Costume designer Tony Walton reached out to some of the biggest names in New York fashion and asked them to contribute original designs for the background of a single musical sequence. Oscar de la Renta, Norma Kamali, Bill Blass. Actual couture, actual exotic fabrics, for extras who would never be individually remembered. The result earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Costume Design, one of 4 Oscar nominations the film received. It won none of them, but the fact that background dancers were draped in genuine high fashion tells you everything about the scale this production believed it deserved. No detail was too small. That was the entire ethos of The Wiz. Magnificent, uncontrollable, and absolutely unwilling to do things the sensible way. And those were 20 strange facts about The Wiz. The film failed by every metric Hollywood uses to measure success. But history doesn't keep spreadsheets. It keeps moments. Michael Jackson dancing down a yellow brick road, Quincy Jones watching a kid memorize everyone else's lines, Lena Horne finally getting the role she deserved, Luther Vandross, uncredited, singing in the background of a film built on his own words. The Wiz was messy, over-budgeted, critically savaged, and deeply human. That's exactly why people are still watching it. If you made it this far, leave a like, subscribe, and comment which fact surprised you the most, and suggest another movie that deserves its own list of strange facts. See you in the next video.